twists and turns of Sonoma County's most legendary roller coaster await the competitors in TC America's TCR and TCA class as we are set to go for the third of a triple header weekend event in TC America, and that is presented and sponsored by CrowdStrike. Hi everybody, I'm Greg Creamer, joined by Calvin Fish and Ryan Marine. And this is a unique race because we've had triple headers already this year where we've had all three classes running, but because TCR and TCA had an event that TC was not going to run in, today it's just these two classes competing together, Cal, and that's going to offer up a little bit more room on this racetrack.
Yeah, I think it'll allow us to highlight the TCA division a little bit more, and that's been a wonderful battle here this weekend with both Mini coming off a win yesterday, Hyundai won here on Friday, so let's see who can come out on top. Maybe Kevin Bowham can get the first win of the year for that Honda Civic this year.
Yeah, having a great starting spot. His fast lap yesterday, putting him up into the outside of the front row for that category. That yellow Mini of Clay Williams, a newcomer to the series, and he's been strong. Damon Sergisian having a superb run yesterday. This might be his best starting spot for the season, so a great run there. And then you see Jonathan Newcomb, and at the back here is Caleb Bacon running. It's actually the number 33 as his teammate, Matt Forbush, has turned this car over to Caleb after some problems. Great sportsmanship by him. And then you go back to the TCR category, and the big story here has to be the absolute remarkable undefeated run so far by Tyler Maxson.
Yeah, he's made that wonderful transition from TCA up to TCR with the Copeland Motorsports team, and he's undefeated this year, going for his eighth consecutive victory here today. He's going to be tough to beat, but you know that Roy Block, Victor Gonzalez Jr., and CJ Moses will be hunting him down, but that Hyundai looks to be pretty unbeatable right now.
There's a look at Roy, the Argentinian-American, if you will, and really loves driving this Alfa Giulietta. It's just an absolutely beautiful machine, and looking forward to seeing what he can do today. And for C.J. Moses, this is his first time at this venue in that AWS CrowdStrike car. Of course, this weekend sponsored by CrowdStrike. That adds a little bit of pressure. And what was his response yesterday on a track he doesn't know? Gets his first podium.
Yeah, it was a nice run for him yesterday, and he's learning this racetrack. He's also learning how abrasive this surface is, so tire management will be a key even in a 40-minute race today.
Yeah, he said that's been a massive education for him, and this is a place that'll teach you, that's for sure.
It will in a hurry. It's nothing. It's pretty depressing to be running the last 5-10 minutes of this race with no grip underneath the race car.
And keeping that in mind, the guy who last year put a clinic on in tire management starts third, Victor Gonzalez in the 99 Fia Brews BGMC racing entry. There's a look at Damon Sergisian, and again, running in that Tech Sport Subaru. Has had a lot of problems throughout the weekend, but yesterday, before his the problems in yesterday's race developed, he put in a really stout lap that allows him to start up in the 6th spot. And you can see he's got a little bit of a wrinkle on the side of the car from some contact out there, but it's close quarters racing. And Damon, a Canadian filmmaker as well as being an ice racer up in Canada, is looking forward to a good run today. There's Victor Gonzalez, Fia Brews on the side of the helmet there. They had a huge dinner party for their team, I guess, last night in the paddock with some paella, and they were sending out pictures just making everybody a little upset that they weren't invited or had to miss it. But this is a team that loves their racing and loves life, and you can see Victor's pumped. He's ready.
It really is a great family atmosphere, particularly in these type of classes, so it's great to see everyone enjoying each other's company in between the breaks of races, which are coming at you fast and furious. There's the number 57 car. Tyler Gonzalez had a win here on Friday, struggled a little bit yesterday, so we'll have to see what the championship leader can come back with today. Mark Pombo starting up front in this division, gradually clawing back that points lead a little bit.
Absolutely, and there is a look at the number 61 Mini of Pombo, who starts on the class pole. Talking about those TCA class Hyundai Veloster Turbos, they've both, from both camps, they've been fighting a little bit a problem with overheating brakes, and they think today that might just be solved because it is a cool, brisk day here on the bay. And let's take a look at this track.
Yeah, just a tick over 2.5 miles, break it down into 3 sectors. The first 2 sectors, a lot of elevation change, and then that big run down in the final corner, turn 11, is a great overtaking opportunity. But the real key, as you alluded to earlier, Greg, is the abrasive nature of the circuit. Tire management will be a factor, but this is a fun one. It's really ideally suited to both the TCR and the TCR cars here.
And it's interesting where that pink, where the first sector starts, and then at the bottom of the carousel, that's all the elevation. Then the rest of it is fairly flat, but that elevation comes at you fast and furious with lots of apexes right on the top of those hills.
Yeah, and it makes it really tricky for the opening corners and opening lap of this race when the tire temperatures and pressures aren't quite there as you go battling side by side and cresting those hills. So let's see what Mark Pombo can do here today. He's got a lot of confidence going. He said key was yesterday was seeing what the balance would do over the long run. He kept it together. But look at that guy on the second row of the grid, Clay Williams, really making some great stuff happen early in his career in TCA racing.
Yeah, he's been part of the go-karting and small bore open wheel series out here on the West Coast. And good friends with this guy, Tomas Mejia, and that's how this connection sort of happened. And he had an opportunity, and they said, well, let's get you in one of these mini JCW machines and give you an opportunity. And he has jumped on it. He's fast in both the races and a great lap yesterday for this third place starting spot.
Yeah, and I wonder how long they'll stay good friends if Clay is now running ahead of Thomas and pips him on the grid today.
Here's a look at the starting field. Maxson's beautiful. Copeland Motorsports, that's the Hyundai Veloster N TCR entry. Here's a look at Tomas Mejia in his STEP, and that Service Technician Education Program Mini. It's a great program, gives mechanics who are looking to make a break into either the Mini realm or into BMW. It's a partner with that. It's an education program that if you already have your accreditation from even a 2-year tech school for auto mechanics, you can get into that program. And what it does is it gives you a jump start into becoming a certified BMW or Mini tech. The cool part of it is that they always embed a couple of those guys in that program in with the race teams.
Yeah, what a wonderful program that is to get people who are, they're gearheads, that they love cars, and to bring them to the racetrack and learn the dynamic and the environment here is wonderful.
All right, field making its way onto the track, and we understand that this one might be just one safety lap or pace lap here before we go racing. We've had a couple for most of the events here, but they may have changed this to one. We'll confirm that for you. We'll know by about turn 8 when the lights are either on or off on the Acura NSX, the official safety vehicle of the championship. And you see right at the back of the field, Caleb Bacon. It's been kind of a tough year for Caleb. Very quick at Circuit of the Americas, but had a technical infraction and lost a finish. Then VIR, if you were watching, he had the brake failure going into turn 1, had a big incident. And he and his dad, Chad, drove all the way out here from the Midwest and had some serious issues with their car in the testing days and the practice days. And Matt Forbush, who's the teammate, he said, Caleb's a little quicker than I am, and he's early in his career. And he said it just felt like the right thing to do to give him my car and let him get after it here. And I think that's a pretty classy thing for a guy to do.
It really is. It's a tough thing to do when you're a racer. You want to be out there on the racetrack and behind the wheel. But thinking about the big picture of the organization, wonderful to see. But curious to see if Tyler Maxson can just take off like he did yesterday. I mean, he's been dominant from the front. He didn't have the pole position there for the first race of the weekend. It was an interrupted qualifying session, which meant that he qualified a little bit further down, but he certainly rebounded and put everything straight pretty quickly.
Boy, didn't he? It's going to be interesting to see just how up on the wheel Roy Block decides to get here in the early going. And lights are still on that Acura NSX, so we may have a secondary lap. And I think they were maybe planning on the first lap, but it's a lot cooler this morning than we've had it here, and maybe it's not a bad idea to give these guys an extra lap to get a little extra heat and scrubbing into these Pirelli P0 slicks.
Yeah, there's going to be a different look to this race with the touring cars not in the mix. They put on a great show here over the course of the weekend. Had a double-header weekend for them, triple for everyone else. They ran here on Friday and Saturday, and we saw some great battles, particularly between Johann Schwartz and James Clay. So they're taking that championship right down to the wire. That is for sure. It's going to be a classic battle this summer.
Well, this TC America division with the 3 different classes, every one of them has just produced some great racing this year. Dominant runs by Maxson, but they, in terms of the wins, they haven't always been where he's loped off into the distance. A lot of them have been. He's been that strong. But there have been some battles where he's had to deal with things. But certainly, as you said, TC, and in this category, TCA, we've seen some absolutely great racing. And it's interesting, you were talking about Pombo talking about keeping the tires on them. We've seen other races where one manufacturer or one team will lope off into the distance and then it'll fade. The other one, it comes back to them later in the race, so you never really know what's going to unfold come those last 4 or 5 laps.
No, it certainly looked like Mark was taking a lot out of his tires by the gap that he established early yesterday, but he managed it perfectly. He said they were still there at the end, so I'll give him some confidence today. They can maybe tweak on the car a little bit more. And it's all about the long green flag run. We've seen very few cautions here this weekend, Greg, so you can't rely on that reset.
I wanted to ask you just a little bit about, we heard Mark Pombo, talking to us about the short wheelbase of the Mini, that it puts a lot of load through that entire platform. Kevin Bowham starting outside of the front row. It's a longer wheelbase Honda. What really is that going to do in terms of the different handling characteristics of these cars?
Well, it's all about maintaining the balance, and with the front-wheel drive cars, you're asking it to do all of the turning and all of the work and traction with the front tires. So it's about managing the fronts. That's the real key to having that pace in the vital last 5-10 minutes of the race. I think Kevin Bowham's really a great race car driver. He's won 4 national championships, but he also understands the car really well, and he's gradually getting his arms wrapped around this Honda Civic and putting in some great results. So it might be a big step today to try and grab the win, but you know that the car's getting stronger each and every weekend.
Absolutely, and generally longer wheelbase is good high-speed stability,
exactly.
But when you've got a twisty serpentine track, that little shorter wheelbase can be a little bit quicker. So Kevin might be looking ahead to Road America, just maybe. But here we go, getting ready for this one. Again, 8th round of this championship season for TCR and TCA. You see a little bit of a gap there. As Pombo was instructed, make sure you give a couple 100 feet if you can. He's not giving him that much, but we're getting ready to go here. Maxson bringing him up to the line. Roy Block in that black and blue Alpha Juliet, and we are green. And Maxson slices into the lead. And boy, I'll tell you, CJ Wilson got down to the inside of Victor Gonzalez, but Victor went back around the outside, and here's that battle, and look at this move. Tomas Mejia coming from deep in the pack, Cal. What a start.
It was a great start. He's already up to second. He's going for the lead with his teammates side by side through 3. They touch. Mejia's off the road.
If they come back on in front of him, nice job by Mejia to make sure that didn't happen.
Yeah, he did a really nice job there of keeping it clean, but that was a moment between the teammates there. It's allowed Bowham to get to the front.
Yeah, that was 5th, a battle for the lead in a couple of corners. That was aggressive. It's just that little touch that didn't work.
Bowham leads in TCA. Gonzalez.
That's Pombo. Looks like that right front, Cal. Yep.
He's a long way from home.
Oh, boy.
Wow, so Mejia really got the bit between his teeth early. He didn't like sitting back there on the grid and went to work on his teammate. Just didn't give each other quite enough room there on relatively cold tires.
Here's a look at Caleb Bacon as we watch this top 4 working into the S's, the TCR machines. There's CJ. And there's the number 60 of Mejia. So both of these minis having problems with the tires. Not a coincidence, maybe. It's the left front for Mejia and the right front for Pombo, and that's where they contacted, Cal.
Yeah, that's a disaster for that team. So it's really going to open up the door for maybe a new winner here today. Bowman Williams up front, but the championship leader Gonzalez in the mix as well.
Yeah, big opportunity, as you said, for Bowham, but for Clay Williams. And you had talked about Mejia, how much is he liking having his friend Williams in front of him, and that may have lit the fuse a little bit too much, but here we are. That's Bowham with the white and blue Veloster sitting in second of Gonzalez, and then Williams, and Gonzalez pops to the inside.
Wow, that was easy. Wow, boy, that was a power move there. Bowham just looks defenseless there against that Hyundai, but he tries to come back at him up onto the entry to turn 2, and Williams is there as well. A real seesaw concertina effect between these very different marks here. You got the Hyundai going up against the Honda, and then the Mini.
As we said, those Hyundais in the TCA class have been dealing with a little bit of overheating brakes issue, and they may have determined it's not going to be an issue today, so go hard, go for it.
Just the acceleration that he had compared to Kevin there along the front straight was remarkable.
Yes.
Grabbed that lead very easily, but there Kevin looks really strong. There you see the damage to the right front. This will be Pombo's car that we're looking at. Differentiate the cars by the colors on the side view mirror there. The darker colors there is Pombo's car. The Union Jack colors, the British flags, so to speak, is on Mejia's.
A little bit of a problem there on that change. One of it was that Jack didn't get that car up in the air, so they couldn't get that tire off. And these are 40-minute sprint races, so these crews aren't necessarily really prepared nor experienced in doing high-speed pit stops, Cal.
No, it's definitely going to be a long day for you in a 40-minute race if you hit pit lane, but particularly when you go a lap down. So with the long trudge back to the pit lane, they'll be down a lap to not only the TCR field, but also the TCA fields, I would think, by the time they get out of pit lane. And then it's just a recovery mode. You're trying to score as many points as you can. When you're into the big picture of the championship, it's days like today where you just have to dig deep and try and get as many points as you can on the board.
Roy Block hanging on in front of Victor Gonzalez, that black and blue Alpha Giulietta, and that fluorescent yellow and white machine. There's C.J. Wilson sitting in 4th spot right now in the AWS CrowdStrike entry that's run by DXDT Racing. Gonzalez starting to put some pressure on Block.
He is, but C.J. Moses is certainly not being dropped here. He's keeping sight of those that battle there for the second position right now. You see Block there really working the steering wheel, coming down through the carousel. Gonzalez tries to float speed, trying to get that exit speed to set him up onto the brake zone for turn 7.
You know, that team that Roy Block runs for, it's called KMW Motorsports with TMR Engineering, and the KMW component and the TMR component, huge amounts of experience in motorsports at virtually every level of racing, period.
Tim Munday has certainly had a lot of experience running over at Le Mans over the years, so great to see him involved with this program. But this is a great battle here that continues to boil here for the TCA lead. Gonzalez has it. Bowham is not letting him go, but it certainly seems like that Hyundai has a little bit more straightaway speed to burn there compared to the Honda.
Well, and certainly coming out of turn 11, the hairpin on that one lap, it was just like there suddenly wasn't any go for Kevin Bowham. I wonder if
he missed a shift or some kind of technical issues. He's hanging a little bit tougher right now. Gonzalez gaps him by about half a car length, but that was dramatic how quickly he just burned by him.
Yeah, it was. And then the man in that yellow Mini, that's right now carrying the colors for the Mini JCW team. Talking about Clay Williams. He's been karting since 2010 is when he started, and he was 7 years old at that time, so you can do the math on that. I think maybe he's 15. And is he quick? He's got around Bowham.
Yeah, that's a really nice move by Clay. So can he surprise everyone and grab his first win here on this weekend? The Minis are quick, but the two main championship contenders have run into trouble here, so now the pressure is on this young man to try and perform here and grab a win.
Gonzalez at the line had about a second now over Williams with that pass of Bowham. I'll tell you, that turn right there, 3A, I think that's one of the great blind commitment corners in North America, isn't it?
It is, because you literally cannot see the edge of the road, and you just got to position that car, make sure you're hitting your marks. And this battle is really heating up. Clay Williams working over Gonzalez there. Bowham down to the inside. As Williams was trying to set up the Hyundai, he just opened up that inside lane, and Kevin filled it immediately.
And how about the run right behind them by Jonathan Newcomb in that 178 VMGC Racing entry? Teammate to Victor Gonzalez. He is not letting this group get away at all.
It's great to see some new players fighting out for the victory here. Low speed corner here, then a big wind up, accelerating up through the S's. Beautiful circle. Let's take a look at the start once again.
You can see Maxson go there. It's the group behind him. And look at Mejia down to the inside of Clay. That was the first part of it.
Yeah, and then he floats speed up into turn 2. As you go around the outside, he gets bite out there, and that gives him the drive off of the corner. He flicks it to the right-hand side of Mark Pombo, and then they go into that compression. Pombo doesn't want to give it up. Floats a little bit wide there. You can see the tire temperature isn't there to give him the grip. Gets into the side of Mejia, and they both cut down tires.
Both had that long limp back to the pits, and that sort of established where we are here. And look at this move by Newcomb, squeezing down underneath Clay Williams. I think he watched Clay make that pass on Bowham the previous lap and said, well, that might work for me, and was able to juke down and get underneath Williams. And Newcomb, he is on the move.
He is. Now put two Hondas up into podium positions. Let's take another look at this. See Williams there, he keeps kind of setting up for the car in front. He's opening up the door. He did it when he went for the lead on Gonzalez and that allowed Kevin through. So this young man is catching a few lessons here today in terms of racecraft. He's got a quick car and just focused up ahead. He's not really thinking about defending at the same time.
Yeah, when he got out of karting, he's done a little time in Spec Miatas.
Don't have mirrors in karts.
That's right, so it's a whole different deal. And got the Spec Miata and got recognized by World Speed Motorsports. Did a little of those, as I said, the small bore open wheel machines, the Formula Car Challenge out here in the West Coast. And the guy that he's racing in Newcomb, he's done a number of runs up Pike Peak over the years and done some autocrossing, and then started to do a little bit of racing in the T4 class, which is very comparable to this level of performance in club racing in SCCA and NASA, but this is his first season of pro-level racing, and he's having fun.
Yeah, he'll say elevation change. You haven't seen elevation change, mate, till you've been to the peak.
That is very true. Here's a look at Roy Block.
It's a great little battle. Tyler Maxson has taken off 3.5-second gap here after 5 laps, so 3/4 of a second advantage that he seems to have over the rest of the field per lap, but this is a nice little battle continuing. Victor Gonzalez had a win here last year, did it through time management and savvy. He and Roy seem very evenly matched here this weekend.
Yeah, that win he had last year, I mean, going into the last 5-6 laps, he just started taking chunks away from the leader, and we're talking not just half a second, we're talking 2 seconds at a pop, because he'd managed his tires so beautifully. Hasn't been able to quite duplicate that here this weekend.
See the Alpha there up against the Honda. See if there's any real advantage. They seem pretty evenly matched. It's not like a certain aspect of this racetrack is suiting one or the other. All down to the global BOP, balance of performance, that controls this. So it's not just based on what the performance we see in SRO here, but it's globally as well. So he blocked their really defensive line down into the turn 9 chicane. That allows Gonzalez to get a little bit of a run here. He could be in position to try and make a move into turn 11.
Yeah, Gonzalez got out of the S's really well, looked to the inside, Block moved over to defend. Gonzalez popped to the outside, but so far, very experienced driver from Puerto Rico has not been able to figure out a way by the Argentinian.
Alpha looks really good. Just accelerates really well off that tight turn 11 hairpin corner. The Gonzalez Motorsport team, which has expanded rapidly over the last 12 months.
Oh boy. Yeah, all of last year you'd go to talk to them in the team and they had a small trailer and just a couple of friends and Victor and the one car, and this year got to the Circuit of the Americas and I went for my paddock walk, walked around the corner, and there was a full huge hauler with 5 cars sitting there. And I said, okay, we've got to talk a little bit here. And Ruben Iglesias, who runs the touring car component of VGMC, is a big player with Fiebru's Motorsports in the Caribbean, but in drag racing, but he's fallen in love with road racing. And so he said, let's get serious about this and put a program together, and boy, have they.
They really have. It's wonderful to see how you can build a platform in this championship. Really impressed with this Alpha. It seems to go from strength to strength. We talk about it being a wonderful looking car. Just love the body sculpting on the Alfa Romeo. Just looks right, doesn't it?
It does. Very aesthetically pleasing, and also is plenty quick. You saw James Walker have some really good runs in that machine last year in the TCR. I think it's important to point out, you mentioned the point, the global regulations for TCR, any series that opts to run TCR, they basically, the only way they can do that is to agree that they don't do their own balance of performance adjustments. Everything has to come from the global organization, and so it's a little different take on things sometimes.
the lead. It's not like Maxson is really stretching things, so we're not sure if he's just gone into time management mode, but it seems like Block and Gonzalez is maintaining that gap just under 4 seconds right now. So seems like the delta between the leader and the chasers is kind of stabilized a little bit. This battle continues to rage for the final podium spot in TCA, with Newcomb just hanging on from Clay Williams. And up front, Kevin Bowham was keeping Gonzalez in his sight. So I'd have to think that was just a momentary technical issue or a misshift or something for Kevin Bowham when he lost the lead of this race. So looks down to the inside. That was close. He can really take in on the brakes, working over Gonzalez here. Gets to his flank. He's going to be on the outside as they make the run. Now he does the undercut here, trying to get to that inside lane. Is he close enough? Don't think he is this time. Seems like that Hyundai just has a little bit more acceleration just to give him that safety margin he's looking for, and the comfort factor of not having to defend right as they get into the corner.
With that top four are working hard. Ryan, what's the word from Copeland?
Well, it's an interesting situation, isn't it, for Tyler, because Tyler Gonzalez came into this weekend second in points. His two big rivals in the points were the ones that hit each other at the start of the race, the two minis, Mejia and Pombo. And so while Dean Copeland has told his driver, yes, we would like to win, we would like to maximize our points haul, he also said, look, if they start to pressure you too much, don't worry about it. A second or a third, that might as well be a win, given the fact that our closest competitors have had some problems already in this race.
I'm thinking big picture, but I think he has the speed to win. I mean, unless Kevin gets really aggressive here. I mean, it seems like Gonzalez is okay out front. He's not just really hanging on, but Kevin's certainly keeping the pressure on him. It's a very different line into the carousel, really high entry, just trying to create that big radius. As the tire wear starts to get a little bit more crucial, you may find you've got to tighten that up a little bit, because right as you need the grip as you crest the hill, you get a little bit sketchy.
And again, just a really strong run in third there by Newcomb.
Bowham's car looks really strong on the brakes.
Once Newcomb got in front of Williams, Williams has not been able to figure out a way back through. We were talking with Newcomb. He said this might have happened in 2018. He said we were thinking about a deal, and one of the guys in that program that we were looking at putting together was Victor Gonzalez. And he said that it just didn't pan out at the time, but then when Victor expanded the program this year, they've remained friends and everything, and they checked in with each other, and that's how Jonathan Newcomb ended up running in this championship this year. So 6 degrees of separation stuff happening here in the sport, as it often does.
It does. You know, it's all about establishing relationships, planting seeds. Sometimes they don't grow initially, but it's good to see that Newcomb's there, and he's very much in the mix for definitely a podium at least. But I think he's got the pace of the leaders as well, it seems like.
Yeah, exactly.
Gonzalez has taken off a little bit on this particular lap. Gap is probably bigger than it's been all race long.
Well, sometimes the best defense is a good offense. It's just open up and establish a gap. But at this track, you can do that, but you always have to be so mindful of what is taken out of your tires.
I'll tell you what, Gonzalez has a beautiful line coming up over the crest of the hill in turn 3. Bowham looked good on the brakes. Is where he seems to eat them up a little bit. Up front, Maxson's lead is down to 3.5 seconds. So it was up nearly 4 a lap or so ago. So I'm not sure if he's managing things or if he has any kind of issues, but certainly not romping away like we've seen here previously this weekend.
Yeah, very true. Taking a look at last laps, his last was a 151.1, Block at a 150.8, and Gonzalez at a 150.9. So, as you pointed out, he's not just not driving away. I think they're coming back a little bit, but it may be D. Copeland on that radio going, look, just take care of the tires, have something at the end.
Next, that lap's about 2 seconds off his personal best in the fastest lap of this race at 149.2. You mentioned the 51.1 for Tyler. Block and chasing Gonzalez running in the high 50 range. I think right now for Victor, he should probably just let Block get on with things and try and chase down the leader first before he gets too aggressive. Otherwise, that'll just start to compromise their racing lines and their lap times.
Yep. And the other component, I mean, obviously with this being as serpentine a track as it is, you know, straight lines. One thing, oh, look at Victor coming up along the outside and overshot it just a little bit.
Yeah, just had to hang on the brake pedal a little bit, couldn't get it turned in. Then you're on the dusty part of the racetrack where there's not a ton of grip. No one runs out there. That's now giving Block a big gap and some breathing room.
But you can see the experience of Victor there. He didn't lock him up. He didn't do anything like that, trying to make that turn, understanding, keep the tires, look after those tires. You overrun it a little bit, just run wide and save those tires, and that's something that he is very good at. And that's the, you know, the thing the one I was about to get to is these cars have deceptively serious aero on them in those TCR cars, and two, they don't have the driver aids that other classes have either. They're very high performance, but it's down to the driver. It's the driver's right foot that's the traction control, and the left foot that's the ABS.
Yeah, I mean, part of that global package is that any race under an hour, which this certainly is at 40 minutes, does not have all of the electronic gizmos attached to the race car, so it certainly puts it more in the driver's hands and feet, as you mentioned. So, Maxson just threading his way through this TCA traffic carefully. He's got the nice buffer. When it gets down to 1 to 2 seconds, then it puts a lot more pressure on the leader to deal with the lap traffic a little bit more aggressively. But when you got 3 to 4 seconds, that's a nice buffer to have, and just take your time, maybe lose a second or two and not panic.
And Block coming up in the back of Damon Sergisian, and we'll see if he's able to get through him quick. If not, this might be an opportunity for Victor to get a little bit of a run here.
Like Block may just catch this traffic and not at the best time. That allows Victor to really get a good run.
Come after.
Yeah, I think Block there was just trying to time the run. By doing that, allowed Victor to get right there. So I think Woodman made a little mistake in just easing off a bit too much to time the run into the turn 9 chicane. So he maintained the position, but it's allowed Victor to close right up on his tail.
Yeah, lost that gap, and a very track-aware and sportsman-like move by Damon Sergisian there to just wait, let both of them go through, and then turn back into the corner. Class act.
Battle and dealing with the traffic has allowed Tyler Maxson to establish a gap now.
Ooh, look at this now. Clay coming back after Newcomb.
Down to the inside, we're seeing a lot of side-by-side action through here, but the Mini's there, just clips that inside curb there, does a little bicycle moment. He's back through, so now he's clear of the Honda of Newcomb. Let's see if Clay can really display the pace to try and chase down the leaders.
When they came through, it was 1.6 seconds from Bowham in second to Newcomb in third. And that little bit of side-by-side racing has probably slowed him up a bit. So it's probably 2 seconds now between Bowham and Williams. But see if Williams was playing a game of just keeping those tires underneath him. And now he's got something to go with as we're into the second half of this race.
Yeah, past the halfway point, so you'll be getting a feel and a read on those tires. If you're taking too much out of them, what is the balance like in the race car? Clay Williams there running that big wide radius there, just trying to keep the speed up. Now he's just got to focus forward. It seems like he's gapped Newcomb a little bit, taking the pressure off the tail. He can just look forward. We said he's maybe not used his rearview mirrors to their best effect here in the early laps when he was in battling for positions, but now he doesn't have to focus so much with that 3-car length lead that he seems to have over the Honda.
One thing Clay Williams has here is a lot of laps.
Battle for second continues to intensify between Gonzalez Jr. and Block as they came into the turn 9 chicane.
Both of them clearing Caleb Bacon in the signal entry.
Really want to be tight down on that painted curbing as much as you can. That's where the forward bite will develop. If you get out wide there, it just seems like you really struggle to find any grip there in terms of traction off that low-speed corner. Gonzalez, really big run here. Looks like Victor is starting to get a little feisty and wants that position. Block is maybe backing off a little bit in his pace, and Victor's showing more flash in his lights there, seems like.
It's all part of the sight game, isn't it?
Once once you start to compromise the lines here, if you're really worried that the man is about to make a move from behind, you start to run in the middle of the road. That's just going to hurt your lap time and allow the leader to just scamper off a little bit further. Gonzalez looking really racy here. Seems like that Honda has come to life, or whether he's just thought about managing the tires. Now it's go time.
Just looking at watching Roy Block, you can see the gloves, Seatbelt gloves, flashing in the windscreen, and all the way through the carousel, it was just constant corrections. So they are on the edge right now. And coming up on traffic, that's Newcomb sitting fourth in TCA that they're going to catch here.
Well, that's the key, just reading it. I think Roy just likes to back off right there and try and get a run off of turn 8 to get in position down at the brake zone for 9. He does it there. Victor goes to the outside. Compromised inside line. You can see him really struggling there. You're asking a lot from those front tires to turn hard there by that compromised shallow line on entry.
Big horsepower disparity between the TCR cars and the TCA machines. You'll see that exiting the hairpin here.
Yeah, it's over 100 horsepower, so that makes a big difference here on the acceleration run off that hairpin. See, they easily clear Williams as they head up to turn 1.
Next up is Kevin Bowham, and then the leader in the TCA class, Gonzalez.
This is a difficult racetrack through this section here, just to really deal with that traffic effectively and not allow the driver chasing you from behind to make a move. Gonzalez looks to the inside. He's not quite close enough. He is working block over right now.
And I'm not so sure that Bowham is going to be quite as gentlemanly as some of the others, because he knows he's still within shouting distance here. But once they get to the inside, you don't have a lot of an option.
You can see the pace of that Honda, the TCA machine of Kevin Bowham, really can roll good apex speed there through that corner. So despite the extra downforce of the TCR car, Kevin had good speed there. Key for Gonzalez here is the TCA leader versus the Gonzalez, the chasing TCR runner. He lost a little bit of ground there, so allowed Kevin to close up.
Well, he stayed out way wide to let those two guys go through. And I think that maybe a little wider than he thought. You get off too far out there, and it's a little dirty and dusty, and you lose a little bit of grip, but Block right into that defensive mode again.
He is, and that's definitely going to cost you lap time. But I think he's just thinking he's not really worried about the leader. It seems like Tyler's in good control here with the traffic dynamic. Has now opened up the lead at the front of this field to 7.5 seconds. Is Tyler Maxson's lead as he goes for his 8th consecutive victory to start this championship season. So Gonzalez there really working the wheel there, trying to get the car turned in. Bowham is there. 14 minutes to go. Can Kevin Bowham get his first victory of the season?
And we're getting into that time frame in these races when if somebody has been too abusive or somebody has been absolutely superb in managing their tires, it's going to show. Big slide there by Bowham.
Yeah, that was cool. That looked cool. I'm not sure how much good it does your tires when you're really sliding up the hill there. As we said before, a very abrasive nature to this circuit. It doesn't give you a lot of grip, but it will also wear out the tires like a bit of a cheese grater on the tires if you're sliding the car around. But Kevin realizes it's go time as Block now down on the inside. Mejia just trying to recover here and score some points here on a difficult day. Alpha just seems to accelerate the Honda a little bit there, and then Victor is very strong on the brakes. We're just being super patient. Still got some time to work with.
Kevin doing a nice job. We've talked about his SCCA National Championships. One of them he won here in 2018, but it's his only previous visit to Sonoma Raceway. And he put the car in pull-up with 10 laps of practice, which is pretty impressive at a venue as technical and tricky as this.
Well, he's a big sim racer as well,
Yeah,
so I'm
point.
sure he was on his computers trying to figure out the best way around this race circuit. And they're just so real in terms of the simulation that it gives you. In the early days, it really didn't make, okay, you got the shape of the circuit, that was about it. But now with this latest technology, it's just wonderful what you can learn sitting at home before you even arrive at the race circuit.
Well, and they'd been struggling at VIR with overheating issues in traffic, and they thought they had it resolved. They wouldn't know until they got in traffic here, and they said, yep, it's working fine. They've just been doing maintenance. But Kevin said after the second race yesterday, he was pleasantly surprised with the amount of grip that the track had after the GT cars had been out and run. Well, we just had here an hour-long GT4 race, so maybe this track is offering a bit more grip than it has had initially.
Yeah, and that will certainly help that tire management, and also you're working on the balance of the race car to get it better. And it's really an imbalance. If you've got a lot of understeer in the car, it's just going to wear on those front tires and vice versa. Not typically in these front-wheel drive cars, but having a loose car would work on the rears. But this has just been a great battle. You could tire string between these two for the whole race, it seems.
Roy has been doing just a superb job. Every place that Victor has had a run and an opportunity, Roy has put that Alpha Giulietta in the absolute perfect spot.
Yeah, he's been pretty savvy, and so far Gonzalez has not got super aggressive on him, so he's comfortable just running this middle of the road line here down into turn 9. And just not much that Victor's really able to do with it. Here it's all about just timing the run. He got a good run there. That's about as good as you could do without making contact, in terms of rolling a bit more minimum speed through the middle of that complex.
I almost wonder if for Victor, if he gave himself a little bit of a gap going into 9.9A and just didn't have to overslow when Block has that that sort of tight turn in, and then could just float some speed if he'd be able to do something into 11.
Just seems like that Alpha just has a little bit more acceleration than the Honda, so even if you're in position right on his tail, ooh, that was a moment.
Yep, he overshot one.
And that's where you, with the elevation change, looking at it from the camera view, it really doesn't do it justice in terms of as you climb that hill. If you get a little bit wide, you're suddenly dealing with coming up through turn 2 without the right line. It's going to hurt your grip as you come across the brow of the hill. So they're definitely pushing hard. Great rhythm to those first couple of corners. Great piece of real estate in motor racing.
Coming up on 9 minutes to go here. Tyler Maxson comfortable in front of these two, but this has been a great battle. And CJ Moses sitting there in 4th, and Gonzalez, he's got almost a second, but no more than that over Bowham. Then they're both about 4 seconds clear back to Williams, and then Newcomb. The battle for the TCA lead is certainly not done, and this scrap for second and TCR is superb.
It really is just amazing that they've run this close together for this many laps and haven't had any paint traded is remarkable.
There's your lead, that's the margin. And again here, Block defends.
You just see really has to ask a lot from this front tire. Shallow approach to the initial part of turn 9.
Well, Bowham has closed it up again.
Very similar dynamic. It seems like the handling of the Hondas is a little bit stronger, with both Gonzalez putting the pressure on Block and Bowham putting the pressure on Gonzalez here for the lead in TCA. But in this case, it looks like the Hyundai may have just a little bit more power on the burst down to the next corner, and the same thing for the Alpha over the Honda TCR machine.
And every time that Bowham closes in just a little bit on Tyler, he just responds with a couple of really stout corners and just finds another car length or two. 8 to go, 8 minutes.
Gonzalez is doing a really nice job. You see him really right on the threshold coming down in that turn 11 braking zone. Couple of Motorsports team look on. Looking for another double victory here this weekend. Just executing at the highest level.
As you talked about, Gonzalez just really is strong right up here in this part of the racetrack.
He just really floats great speed into this corner. This is where Kevin's a little bit stronger. He really closes that gap down. Some of it is down to the gear ratio as well. You'll have certain corners, I mean, they don't run the exact same ratios in each of the different manufacturers, obviously. So you'll have a corner that's a real problem. You're in what we call in between gears. The lower gear is too low. The high gear doesn't give you the acceleration off the corner. So you can see this ebb and flow sometimes because of just the gear ratios and the sweet spot with the torque of the engine.
See if Kevin's able to make up any ground. He does. Closes it up a bit into the braking zone. You pointed that out earlier. You thought that he looked really solid on the brakes. And Gonzalez just continues to fill the mirrors, but can't get alongside Roy Block.
He's there. It's a question of how much does he want it. Is he willing to get aggressive here and force the issue? It seems by playing it clean, Block just seems to have all of the answers right now.
Quick up through here, isn't he? Through 1 and 2.
He is. I think Roy takes a lot of speed through turn 1, but I think he comes into turn 2 a little too aggressively, and that hurts him. You can see Victor there just kind of sets up to exit these corners a little bit more efficiently, whereas Roy seems to like to attack the entry to the corners.
I wonder if at some point Victor seems to really carry a little bit more speed through 3A if he's going to try and surprise Roy with a move down to the inside going into 4.
You could see Roy there really having to work that steering wheel to get the front turned in, so maybe he's starting to experience a little bit of a loss of grip here. But right there, just takes the pressure off. That Alpha just seems to gap the Honda by about a car length there. And then Victor's right back with him into the brake zone.
Well, and with these front drive cars, as you talked about, with the front tires doing everything, turning, braking, accelerating, that protective line that Roy's been running lap after lap into turn 9, where it's such a tight turn in, he might be doing a little bit of damage to those fronts.
You're just grinding on it right here.
Yeah,
see right here, right as he turns it right now, you're asking a lot from that front tire. Great camera shot there. He's got a good run on him.
Yes, he does.
It's as close as it's been, but again, just see that little gap gets extended. He's got to be frustrated by this. He's working him over. Doesn't seem like either one of them have really made a mistake here today.
That Alpha definitely just gets that little jump, and it may just be, as you talked about, it's a little bit better gearing. Oh, he is so close.
Really tight. Just trying to figure out a solution to this puzzle. And I think the real key will be if those front tires on the Alpha can hang on. I seem to see Roy Block struggling more and more to get that front end to respond for him. You watch when he gets to the carousel, the upcoming long left-hand corner. See how much he has to work that steering wheel to get the front end to bite and turn in. Watch his hands on the wheel. See him there?
Yep. Really fighting it. 4 minutes to go. Victor carried a lot of speed. But then again, there's that little jump, 2-3 car lengths, and that's huge, isn't it?
It is. It takes all of the pressure off. So I think for Roy Block, he just needs to pick his lines, not open up the door. But when the tires are going away a little bit, it's a lot easier to make that crucial mistake. Victor's close. He's got a big run going here. Just can't get to the inside though. He just gaps him at that critical moment where you're trying to get position to the inside. There he left a little bit more of a gap, but couldn't really do anything with it. It's been a fascinating battle.
It has.
It's got to be a frustrating one for Gonzalez.
Just a great chess game here. It really seems to me the spot for Gonzalez to do something is going to be out of 3A into 4. Because he floats more speed there, and if he could just time it right. And for this Gonzalez, no relation, different team. He has done everything he can right now to keep Kevin Bowham behind him.
Tyler's once again leading the classes here, both driving for Copeland Motorsport. And he's really stretched the gap there on Kevin.
True, it's a good bit of symmetry in Copeland, isn't it? With their
Kevin, they're able to scramble over that inside curve for the second part of turn 9. I think he'll be happy with, it just seems to be a gradual process so far this season for Kevin Bowham, making this move up to the pro ranks with the TCA machine here.
He said this has really been the first weekend where they haven't had some issue, like we said, with that overheating in traffic. And they said after both of the races, it was just general maintenance that you just do on a race car after each race, prepping for another one. And Kevin does all of that, most of it himself. And so he said this has been nice. Now they've been able to actually take some time and really focus on dialing the car up and the like. But looks like Tyler Gonzalez here, as we head into the last couple of laps, he has kept something in reserve, hasn't he?
He has. He's extended that lead a little bit. He's really quick through turn 3 there. He's comfortable using all of the road and a little bit more up and over that curb there as he exits the corner. I think getting back to Kevin Bowham, I think they're learning that car. They seem to be stronger every single weekend. Got through some of the tiny little technical issues they had early on, so it should be 1 lap to go here for our overall leader, Tyler Maxson.
Here he comes in that Hyundai Veloster NTCR from Copeland Motorsports. White flag, 1 to go. And as that battle between Block and Gonzalez has heated up a little bit, as you said, Maxson's been able to ease away to the tune of about 6.5 seconds now.
Yeah, it seems like he's had to manage this one a little bit more. Still a comfortable win. Gap is just over 6 seconds right now, as you can see the battle for that final runner-up. Oh, Block really had to park it here. Gonzalez has got a big run on him.
That's what I thought. This was the spot. And you can see Block thought so too, and he blocked. He just parked that car right in the right spot. Now Victor going to squeeze down to the inside and get to the hammer here. That Alpha, a lot of speed, gave him a squeeze. Victor had to breathe out of it.
How much does he want it? How much is he going to put on the line? Takes that big high entry point. Going to try and roll big speed here through the middle of the corner. Can he do anything with it? This is where the Alpha is strong. It'll just out-accelerate that Honda a little bit on the run down to turn 7. But Gonzalez is getting feisty here with just half a lap to go.
Let's see, does he? I was wondering if he's going to try and cut down underneath here. Yeah, he's got to be going, what do I have to do? But Block has just been superb in his defense, hasn't he?
But the tires seem to be going away on him. These last 5 minutes, he's struggling more and more. Just needs to park it down at the inside. I'm not sure there's anything Gonzalez can do at this late stage of the going. He's going to give it everything, though.
Here we go. Last couple of corners in this battle for second. Maxson well clear of this. Ooh, early turn in there for Block. What can Gonzalez do? And I think Block knows he's got a little bit of a leg here as Maxson keeps a perfect season intact for he and Copeland Motorsports and for Hyundai. And Roy Block hangs on after virtually a race-long attack from Victor Gonzalez. What a race, what a battle that was for second. Meanwhile, Gonzalez here, half a lap to go through turn 7 and 7A, and a little bit of a gap he established over Bowham is holding at this point, Cal.
Yeah, he's got the breathing room he needs. He doesn't have to get defensive. He doesn't have to be compromising with his lines here with just a few corners to go. It's been a wonderfully managed race. Kevin Bowham, hats off to him, but you keep pushing Gonzalez here, but he's been up to the task. Bowham really can use the curbs with the suspension set up on that Honda there to great effect.
Into the hairpin one more time. Tyler Gonzalez has been absolutely spot on. Hitting every apex, every track out. And no wiggles, not taking any toll on those Pirelli P0s. And Copeland going 2 for 2 in a big win by Tyler Gonzalez. Adding that point lead, Kevin Bowham, a big podium. And I think they'll be thrilled with that. Obviously, they would have liked to have been on the top step, but just a superb job by Tyler in that AWS CrowdStrike machine and that team, doing a great job. And then for Clay Williams, the young 15-year-old, welcome to the pros, my friend. In his first weekend of racing, he ends up with a podium. That's pretty brilliant. Not a big surprise here. The CrowdStrike fastest lap award going to Tyler Maxson at that 1 minute 49.264 second lap to get around this 2.5 mile track. That was an absolutely great run. But yeah, Maxson controlled it again, but that battle with Block and Gonzalez was just absolutely fabulous in the battle for the lead in TCA. First half of the race, it was a 4-car scrap, and it was a good 2-car battle all the way to the end.
Yeah, it was a chess match, and unfortunately for Gonzalez, Junior Victor, he came up just a little bit shy of that runner-up position. Great job by Roy Block and the Alpha team. Alpha seems to go from strength to strength. They seem to be closing down that gap to Maxson and Kovler Motorsports, so a lot of races left in this championship chase.
You know, I think Block recognized maybe that it was the exit of 3A where Victor could do something, and the way he turned into 3 at the bottom where he shallowed up, it parked Victor, and it just killed all of his momentum. I think Roy's defense today was absolutely stellar.
It really was. It was a wonderful battle, great to watch, and shame about the 2 minis. You see them there at the bottom of the field there, Pombo and Mejia.
Yeah.
2 teammates hitting each other on the opening lap, so 2 laps down on the field, so they'll have to dust themselves off and come back strong at Road America.
Well, they certainly will do that, and they put on some spectacular racing at Road America in the TCA category last year, so it should be great fun when we get there. But, boy, I'll tell you, look at that. What a start to a season. I mean, near perfection. I mean, but this weekend, the only thing he hasn't grabbed was the pole in the first race.
Yeah, it was a really well-managed race. I mean, it didn't seem like he took off. I think time management was in the back of his mind here. And Delta was still extreme enough to be comfortable, but it seems like the chasing pack is getting a little bit closer to Maxson, and we'll see a different winner before the end of the season.
Absolutely, and here's a look at Roy Block in that Alfa Romeo Giulietta. Great looking car and a great drive by, yeah, he's
happy.
Thrilled, absolutely. A fist bump to the camera. Right back at you, my friend. Well done. And good stuff. Speaking of good stuff, let's take a look at some of the highlights here. As this race went to the green flag, Maxson from pole, easing into the lead, and Gonzalez working around the outside of CJ Moses to get back to third. And he would chase Block all the way. But here's the story. The impressive moves early by Mejia, going from 5th to 3rd to 2nd, and now going to 1st.
Yeah, gets side by side with his teammate there on the approach to turn 3. And Watts Pombo, he just floats out wide there at apex, touches critically Mejia, and it broke the wheels on both cars.
They both had to limp around and ended up spending a long time in pit lane getting them back and going again. Meanwhile, this is that 4-car battle we talked about, and Jonathan Newcomb down to the inside of newcomer Clay Williams, and there's a little bit of a touch there. No harm, no foul, but at the end, Maxson coming through and bringing home his 8th straight win on the season. Just a fabulous performance in the celebration with the crew. And Roy Block fending off Gonzalez Jr. and Gonzalez and TCA getting the win over Bowham and over Williams. And there you just had a look at Tyler Gonzalez as he crawls out from that Copeland Motorsports Hyundai in the TCA category. Here's Mr. Bowham. And obviously, when you're a racer, you're a 4-time national champion, you want to win. But I think this second might just be a bit of a pivotal turning point for this team here. As they said, they haven't chased anything at all, and now they've been able to really focus on dialing this car up. And that's something that Kevin is very, very adept at. Let's get down to Victory Circle and Ryan Moraine.
Well, a perfect season continues. Just what a roll Tyler Maxson is on right now. And Tyler, another sweep here of the weekend at Sonoma. We know this car is quick around a place like this, but next we go to Road America. Very different track. Can you carry this momentum forward?
Yeah, I think we can definitely carry this momentum forward. We've got a great team behind us and a great Hyundai Veloster and TCR this season. Road America is definitely going to be more of a challenge because we're definitely not a horsepower car. We're more of a handling car, and it's definitely going to be more of a challenge, but we think we can definitely handle it.
Do you think about the points lead that you've built up, or do you put that out of your mind and just go racing?
Yeah, I pretty much just put that out of my mind and just go racing. We're pretty much just fighting for whatever we can, and we're not really worried about our whatever points lead we have now. I don't even know what it is, to be honest with you.
Well, don't change a thing. It's working for you. Congratulations on yet another win.
Thank you.
Easy to forget. He's just 15 years old. Doesn't turn 16 until October.
Yeah, an impressive young man, and there you see him at the top of the table once again. Gap wasn't as big as we've seen this weekend, but he managed it perfectly, and he is on a roll.
Boy, isn't he, and that Copeland Motorsports team, they are just executing absolutely superbly. But that battle between Block and Gonzalez was absolutely great stuff. And then that great run to the win by Tyler Gonzalez in the TCA category, Ryan.
Yeah, not just a win, but also a huge points day as well when you consider the fact that trouble hit your biggest points rivals. How aware of that were you in the race car?
You know, it was definitely a factor that was going through my mind, but at that point you just got to put it all behind you and worry about the race that you're currently in. So that's what I did, went corner by corner basically, just hitting my marks, and it really shows.
You got a great team behind you as well. That shows, too, how much of a support network have they provided?
Oh, for sure. I mean, Copeland Motorsports just does an amazing job. I can't ask for a better car, I mean, really. And Brian Herta for building the cars. I just want to say thank you to everybody who supported me.
Another great victory for Tyler Gonzalez. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'll tell you, one of the best ways to say thank you is to win. And he's been saying thank you fairly frequently this year as you take a look at the results there in TCA. As I said, Bowham, I think now this is a turning point, and be interesting to see just how everything works out at Road America. Very different style of track. Clay Williams, what a great job. Hope we see him back. I think this was maybe just a one-off to start with, but he's proven he belongs, and he carried the colors for JCW mini program here. And then Newcomb and Bacon rounding out the top 5. Nice to see Chad Bacon, Caleb Bacon actually have a pretty good run here. They've deserved that.
Yeah, nice top 5 finish there, and a big swing in the points with Pablo and Mejia having problems today.
And Damon Sergisian showing what he can do when everything just kind of works for him. Nice run by him as well. So it's going to wrap things up here at Sonoma Raceway for TC America action. Again, sponsored by CrowdStrike. Thanks so much for joining us. For Cal and Ryan, I'm Greg Creamer. It's been a treat having you with us. We look forward to doing it again with you from Road America.